Now, how many of y'all would turn this video off right now if I was to try to do this voice the entire time?
Welcome, gang. We got a great weekend.
Who's that?
Benoit Blanc, the detective?
Mr. Blanc, I cannot overstate my gratitude to be here. When's the murder mystery start?
Hello, my friends. Welcome to my sun-baked private island in the Aegean Sea, full of sexy people, intrigue, and, who knows, perhaps a touch of murder. Today we're talking about Glass Onion, Rian Johnson's follow-up to his 2019 hit Knives Out, featuring once again the inimitable detective Benoit Blanc. When Blanc, a little stir-crazy after a few months of COVID lockdown, finds himself summoned to a weekend murder mystery party by an eccentric billionaire, he can't resist the invitation. But it seems there's more going on at the isolated getaway than first meets the eye. The setup is pure 21st century Agatha Christie. Billionaire tech whiz Miles Bronze summons a group of old friends for a weekend reprieve from the pandemic, as he calls it. There's an Instagram model and her beleaguered assistant, a rising politician, a men's rights influencer and his squeeze, a celebrity scientist, and Miles' former business partner. Benoit Blanc also secures an invite, though as the outsider of the group, the purpose behind his invitation is unclear. With a movie like this, it's hard to discuss anything much without getting into spoiler territory, and with this film in particular, I'd say the less you know, the more fun you'll have. So I'll just say up front, I definitely recommend the movie. If you were concerned that it would be just like a remake of Knives Out, or that movie was just a fluke, put those concerns to bed. However, I will say that much of what made that movie delightful has found its way into this one. A wonderful ensemble cast, 400 delightful cameos, a careful, witty, fun script, splendiferous costume design, and, of course, Benoit himself, who was never not a pleasure to be with. So go out to a theater this week and see it. This is not a watch it in bed with the subtitles on while you play on your phone type of Netflix movie. It's a go out and have a fun time with your friends and family type of thing. Anyway, we'll be getting spoilery from here on out, so buckle up.
I've invited you all to my island.
Hi.
Because tonight, a murder will be committed. My murder.
Once you're dead, will we still be able to talk to you?
Yeah, I'm not playing dead the whole weekend.
I want to talk about the story in general first. One of Rian Johnson's great gifts as a storyteller is being able to work comfortably inside a genre with familiar conventions while using the language of that genre to reinvent or subvert it in some way. It's one of the main reasons that Knives Out played so well, and it's also the reason you either love or hate The Last Jedi. Knives Out uses the language of the tradition whodunit to tell a story of a sympathetic heroine trying to clear her name while simultaneously confronting American WASP hypocrisy. And The Last Jedi uses the language of Star Wars to gently encourage fans to allow Star Wars to maybe change a little bit and stop living in the 80s.
Contemporize, man!
Glass Onion does this as well. The setup, as I've said, is classic Christie, and Then There Were None comes immediately to mind. And for a while, the movie plays it pretty straight, operating under the assumption of most of the characters that no crime has actually yet taken place. But eventually the story breaks open to reveal that we only had a partial view of the facts, that actually a different type of story was underway the whole time. Your mileage may vary as to whether or not this is actually effective, since we are essentially given a lengthy flashback as the introduction to the third act that radically recontextualizes the whole movie to that point. And if it were simply a gimmick to keep us guessing, I don't know that it would be a choice that I would make, but instead we get another of Rian's gifts. His subversions or reinventions of genre aren't just to be clever for their own sake. They are related to character and communicating the story's themes. And in this movie, the third act switch-up serves to reveal the true protagonist, Andy, and the movie's thematic beating heart, the complicated relationship truth has with power. This movie, as I would probably say all Christie-type murder mysteries are, is obsessed with finding and uncovering the truth. But it has an especially nuanced relationship with the truth. Not that the mystery ends up being particularly difficult to crack, as Benoit frustratedly points out. It is that in this case, revealing the truth will accomplish nothing, as Miles Bronze's world has moved beyond truth. He has spent a career manipulating others' perceptions of the truth for his own gain and to bolster his image. This is a particular conundrum for a detective to confront, and the solution is ultimately to reverse the tables and manipulate how the truth of Miles is seen by the world. So it's fitting and thematically relevant that the movie is so upfront with its own obfuscating.
Across the island, I've hidden clues. You will have to closely observe each other. If anyone can name the killer, that person wins our game. Any questions?
Halle Berry. That has a kick.
Let's talk about our old friend Benoit Blanc and what makes him stand out from other gentleman detectives of stage and screen. As with Knives Out, in this movie, Benoit has been making use of a plucky non-detective sidekick. In that movie, of course, it's Marta. Here, it's Helen, Andy's sister, who are both played by Janelle Monáe. And it is through these characters that we get at one of the key pieces of Benoit's character. While Benoit, like Sherlock Holmes and Hercule Poirot, is motivated by a need to discover the truth of a situation. Bringing the guilty party to justice seems like merely a side effect than the main goal. He takes pleasure in solving a puzzle, of course, but his sympathies and interests so far lie with those who have the least ability to speak for themselves, and his pursuit of truth works to amplify their voices and empower them to take their own actions. In Knives Out, Marta is an immigrant employed by the wealthy Thromby family. She is also the attempted patsy for Ransom Thromby's crimes, and the target of the whole family's anger when their inheritance is left unexpectedly to her. In Glass Onion, Andy is screwed out of her half of the company she co-founded, and then killed when she threatens to bring the truth of Miles's hydrogen energy scheme to light. And her sister Helen, a teacher, must try to uncover her murderer. Other murder mystery stories might certainly have these characters, but they would probably just serve as like the inciting incident. Our crime solver's focus would remain on understanding the killer and getting inside their head and all that stuff. But Johnson's films end up centering on these characters, turning them into the protagonists. His charismatic detective unravels the various plot threads, but it's hardly his story. I don't know, maybe that isn't all that different from Holmes and Poirot. After all, they hardly ever actually participated in the dramas they featured, and they were just guides for the audience and the characters. But the fact that Benoit Blanc seems to use his skills to advocate for those who have tended to be silenced in the past, particularly women, and particularly women of color, rather than simply taking an academic interest in solving the brain teaser or enforcing the letter of the law, to me that's the vital point that makes his character so interesting and relevant today. Plus, it lets us see Janelle Monáe symbolically wreck Elon Musk's house, which I'm here for.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a murder, and the killer is in plain sight. For at least one person, this is not a game.
Oh yeah, if you're a stan of Elon Musk or Adam Newman or any other self-made tech bro billionaire gurus, you'll probably feel personally attacked by this movie, in which a character who is definitely not modeled after any of them is revealed to be a simple, petty, vainglorious idiot, incapable of any original thoughts or ideas other than stealing the ideas of those around him and using his clout to put others down. Which brings up another thing the series does well. It does a really good job of feeling current. Knives Out was about how the moral rot of the American upper class manifested in and contributed to the Trump era. Glass Onion deals with the cultish worship of innovators. This movie calls them disruptors.
Disruptors!
And the dangers their fragile, monstrous egos pose to the world. It felt almost comically prescient screening this movie so soon after Elon Musk completed his vindictive vanity purchase of Twitter, and like the same week he's been having an around-the-clock unhinged breakdown over it in front of our eyes. I mean, I'm not suggesting that Rian Johnson somehow orchestrated the whole thing, but the timing doesn't not feel suspicious. The other major thread of the movie's contemporariness is how it deals with COVID. Specifically, that COVID is a thing in this movie. There's been a lot of COVID fiction, especially short stories, and it's shown up in some TV series, but I can't think of a movie that has included it, even as a background point, much less like part of the plot. I mean, I'm sure there are, and you can let me know in the comments if there's any that like do it good, but this was the first one for me. Non-fantasy movies just seem to take place in an alternative timeline where COVID didn't happen, which is fine, but I kind of love that Glass Onion takes place in our world. The movie isn't about COVID, but its presence helps make the setup feel more plausible, and the film is able to use it as a shorthand to help characterize our characters. Now all you have to do is see how the different characters relate to masking, and you know exactly who you think they are. It even helps make the thematic material stick. I mean, remember, Miles is thought to be so brilliant that he COVID-proofs his guests in May, a good 6 months before any vaccines would be ready. Of course, by the end of the movie, we suspect he probably just sprayed them with Lysol, but whatever.
I must insist that nobody touch the body.
Jeez, detective, who killed the party?
So what do we have here? To me, it's a legitimately enjoyable, crowd-pleasing murder mystery with a fabulous cast, fun characters, great jokes, and a not unangry feminist critique of the false gods that are Silicon Valley's primary export. It is escapism, to be sure, but the kind you can think about and talk about on the way home and, I don't know, maybe even look a little differently at the world. Or you can be like the guy in my screening who commented to his wife as they were getting into his Audi SUV, "Ugh, they act like none of them use Twitter all the time to help their careers, but sure, let's make the successful white guy the villain." With all that's going on these days, it's heartening to know that at least irony will never die. Anyway, like I said, go check this movie out. Although, I'm hoping if you're watching this, you've already seen it. I kind of hate that Netflix is only doing a week-long pretend release so they can use the movie to try and buy Oscars, but at least they're giving us the chance to watch it in a theater with other people. It's a blast, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And so I'll bid y'all farewell till our next encounter. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore.
You must be really great at Clue, huh?
I'm very bad at dumb things. Ticking boxes, running around, searching all the rooms. It's just a terrible, terrible game.
Also, at the theater I went to, they were giving out these adorable little pins. Netflix, sometimes you just make it so hard to hate you.